Hello, I'm Albert Cuadrante. For today's faith stream, we will be reflecting on the Gospel reading for the fourth Sunday of August, taken from the Gospel of John, chapter 6, verses 60 to 69. Here, in this reading, we heard many of Jesus' disciples complaining how hard it was to accept Jesus' teaching, and as a result, unfortunately, many of them returned to their former way of life and no longer accompanied him. While this verse was actually a direct reaction to Jesus' statement that he is the bread of life, I think we can also apply this to how we sometimes react to some of Jesus' teachings and commandments, particularly the more difficult ones to follow. So what are examples of these difficult commandments for you? Well, for me, one that's up there in that list is the commandment to love your enemies. In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6, verses 27 to 36, Jesus said, "Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who maltreat you." It would have probably been easier to comply if Jesus had just said, "Don't retaliate against your enemies." But no, he goes one step further with a directive to love our enemies. It already takes a lot of effort not to retaliate, but it is another thing altogether to go that step and love the person that wronged you. Would it be easy to love someone who continuously backstabs you? Is it easy to love someone who steals from you? Is it easy to love someone who hurts those who are dear to you? I don't think that's easy at all. And I think sometimes you wonder, is God asking us to do something that's humanly impossible? But then this is why God sends saints our way, I think. Take, for example, how St. John Paul II forgave his assassin and even visited and ministered to him in prison. Then there's St. Maria Goretti, who at the age of 11, or I think it was 12, she forgave her would-be rapist at the point of death when she refused his sexual advances. What's amazing in both cases was that the two criminals actually converted after being shown the type of forgiveness and love by their victims. Beautiful and certainly very inspiring, but to me that does not take away the difficulty of complying to this commandment or to obey this commandment of Jesus. And personally, it is something that I continue to struggle with from time to time. But during those moments, I remember what the late Father James Ferry told me in confession. And he said, "Keep struggling." So I took that to mean that it's okay when sometimes we cannot comply, but it's important that we keep on trying to be better at complying or obeying the Lord. Don't walk away. Have you ever heard of the term cafeteria Catholics? So for those of you who have not, a cafeteria Catholic is typically defined as someone who picks and chooses which Catholic teaching to obey or to practice. It's like choosing food in the cafeteria line, parang turo-turo. The reading today, I think, also invites us to examine which teachings of the Church we find difficult to follow, and maybe there are some that we don't even agree with entirely. For some, maybe it could be the Church's teaching on the absolute respect for life. For others, it could be the teaching of the Church on contraception and abortion. And I know for some, they are still participating in this very hot debate about the Church's teaching on sexuality. And there are many other such teachings of the Catholic Church. But because we believe that the Catholic Church is divinely inspired and guided by the Holy Spirit, we are also called to trust in her wisdom, and we are called to holy obedience. We cannot be cafeteria Catholics and just choose which teachings are easy or which ones will not get us into trouble with the greater majority. We have to ask ourselves, if we encounter these difficult moments, what are we going to do? How are we going to respond? The reading ends with Jesus turning to the 12 apostles and asking, "Do you also want to leave?" When we are confronted by these difficult teachings and difficult moments where our beliefs are challenged. Imagine Jesus asking that question, "Do you also want to leave?" How would you reply?